thank you, Deepthi, for joining this session. And I see that you were a banker and banker to sports. What is the story?
Good evening, everyone. I think, first of all, I'm very happy that there is a session on sport and technology. I think we've come a long way. Every 4 years as Indians, we look at the Olympics and Paralympics and wonder why can't we win medals, right? Every 4 years, our national pride seeps up and comes up and thinks why we can't do it. And then we start thinking, how can we work with athletes? My journey, I'm from Coorg, so anyone who's been to Coorg, we actually do two things very well. We play sport or we're in the forces. So growing up, it was all about sport, and I played tennis and basketball, and like most parents, they said, what will you do playing sport? 20 years back, you couldn't have a professional career in sport apart from cricket. Even if you were a good tennis player or a badminton player, they would ask you, so what do you do professionally? Okay, you play, but what else do you do? So I think I went on to do my MBA and then had my campus placements in HSBC. I was there for 6 years. But I would wake up every morning and wonder, what am I doing? I'm meeting some very rich people. I'm learning a lot. I'm in the stock markets. But, just trying to find some sort of purpose. And I think, like I started by saying, every 4 years we wonder, why can't India with 1 billion people win gold medals and medals, right? And till very recently, till Neeraj won, we had only Abhinav Bindra's individual gold medal. So I think for me, that was my turning point to move from banking to Go Sports. I've been here 10 years now. We're a 14-year-old foundation started by some very passionate visionaries who all played sport. We call ourselves failed athletes. We all wanted to play for India and play for the country, but I think we are living our dreams through athletes now. And we work with about 200 young athletes, 50 Olympians and Paralympians. At Tokyo, we had a lot of the firsts of Indian sport that happened. The Commonwealth Games, we had, close to 10 medals that were won from athletes that we supported. This morning, I don't know how many of you all watch badminton, but there was a historic moment today that got created by Chirag and Satvik, and they were the first Indian doubles pair to actually get into the medal tally. So hopefully we change the color of the medal very soon. So it's really been a long journey, but hence banking to sport to try and change that narrative around why Indians can't win at the world stage.
Absolutely. I think great job being done, Deepthi, by you and your team. If you were to kind of go to the next level of particularly focusing on women sports talent in India and how are they faring in the last few years, and in terms of general adoption of technology in their performance, etc. Are there some insights, and have you find something very different or unique? Hey, women sport talent has used technology differently versus men, or anything insightful that you would have found?
I think technology in Indian sport, we're really far behind in a lot of cases, whether it's men or women. I think whether you look at medal tallies today, women are doing really well. 2 medals at Rio were by our girls. So I think, funding young girls has shown that you can create champions. But when you look at technology today in Indian sport, at least what we're using for our athletes is really gone into athlete monitoring, where you're really looking at sleep cycles, training loads, blood markers, biomechanics. There's so much of technology that is actually required. Are they training enough? Are they, why is injury happening? Can you get into the predictive side of it? So about 5-7 years ago, when we wanted to get and really scale up from about 50-70 athletes to now 200 athletes, the primary question was, what kind of technology are you going to use? And we looked far and wide into a lot of Indian startups at that point who had a lot of technology in place, but we couldn't really settle on using something here because we were far ahead of what the world was offering. And we currently use technology which is Australian. And a summit like this, I'd like to put it out to all innovators here that we should have our own Indian athlete monitoring systems. So that, because the way we understand Indian body types is very different, and we're using an international marker on Indian body types. So I think, I'm sure he will add in a lot, Teja will add in a lot more about some fantastic work that they're doing. But for us, over the years, technology has played a very, very critical role, and it's only going to get more and more. If you talk about any Olympic champion across the world, a large part of their performance, the 1% increase from a non-medal to a medal is going to happen with the introduction of technology. So we have some way to go, but because the world is opened up, we're able to buy those technologies. And the previous panel spoke about supporting athletes and the business of sport, but we're in the athlete development side. We're a non-profit setup, and we actually get contributions and donations from individuals who are passionate in sport and corporates. I think one of the facts that a lot of, as Indians, we don't know is that, I'm sure this audience knows, but a lot of times I've heard that we didn't know that sport is part of the whole CSR mandate. Training towards Olympic, Paralympic, rural sports is actually a nation-building activity. And because of that happening, since 2013, the number of Indian corporates that have come on board, we spoke about GSW, we spoke Aditya Birla Group, IndusInd Bank, they're all partners to us. But that is really, all the results you're seeing now is the efforts that have happened over the last 8, 10, 15 years. Even Arjun spoke about them supporting young athletes. But they're performing now. So sport is going to take 8, 10 years. And I think LA 2028 is when we'll really see medal tally happen. Tokyo was an outing. Rio was an outing. Tokyo, we saw some good performance. Paris is really close by. But I think LA is going to be a culmination of a lot of efforts of key stakeholders. And corporate India, I think, has played, small number of corporates, but have played a major role in seeing that change. And the government of India, I think a lot of times we blame that the government's not doing enough, but at the elite level, there's something called as a Target Olympic Podium Scheme that got started. And there's a lot of collaboration with private, government, where we keep the athlete at the center of things and then work with them. So I think we've come a long way, but I think technology is important for us to go to the next level.
To the next level. So that should give a nice segue to the researcher from IIT Madras and the context of Indian body type and maybe Indian mind. So what is your research all about, and what is this product that you have created, which is the first in the Asia Pacific? So we're all very curious.
Thank you. So I'm pleasure that we are having this discussion, like what Deepthi was saying, because it's very rarely that we see a panel which is brought together who are working in different segments of sports, and we discuss policy making decisions kind of things here. And I'm very thankful for that. And coming to your question, like what we have done. So as you were rightly mentioning about performance side, what we have done is understanding the daily routine of an athlete. See, because today when we talk about athletes' performance, we only talk about on the field performance. And what happens besides that is actually something which decides how the subconscious level of performance will be displayed on the event day. So what we try to do is we monitor a 24-hour data of an athlete and understand how their routine is. We understand how their personal activities are actually mapping and resulting in what kind of triggers. For example, the emotional stress that they might have, physical stress that they're already having on the field. So we understand which is triggering and which is not triggering, and also we look into the activities that help them recover much. As in, for example, a person, a particular athlete might actually like meditation, but another athlete might not like meditation. And it might be very difficult for them to sit at a place and control themselves. But then for them, maybe listening to good music might be recovery. So what we did there is we also identify which kind of activities are triggering good recovery for the athletes and ensure that the balance is being maintained. That is on a daily basis, how is the stress of an athlete is being maintained and balanced by the recovery of an athlete. So instead of waiting for a recovery day, how are we embedding into the daily routine? So that is what we have done with our first product. Yeah.
So is this done for the Indian type?
Yes, yes, because and to rightly mention, this is it takes time to come up with such technologies, and we have invested around 8+ years of research into this and brought out this technology. And we are also talking about multiple wearable technologies that we are purchasing from abroad. So it's not that they have simply made it. In fact, one of these age-old technologies and which is very prominent today have been more than 2 decades of work that they have put in. Only then we have such products today. Yeah, so definitely what we have done is Indianized the data first of all and then took it forward. Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the technology itself? So what is this technology you're talking about? What is secret sauce? What are these technologies?
So, to anyone who wants to venture into sports technology, I would say performance is just one segment of sports technology, but then there are, I personally would classify them into 4 categories. One is on the safety side, wherein you talk about helmets, guards, and smart helmets being coming in to understand how we can ensure the safety of an athlete, and then the return to sport after an injury. For example, something like a zero gravity treadmill would help an athlete be active and at the same time be away from the injury segment. So that is one area where technology can help on the safety side. Second would be on the skill and performance. Like everyone was mentioning about the wellness side of things, where we are tracking their sleep cycles, their strain, load, and load management and things. And today we see records are being broken left and right. But what is that we are looking at a record? Today, record is all about having that last minute advantage or last a minute variation that separates from a winner and a rest. So, like what we are talking, spoken about the swimmer, where in last microsecond they have missed the medal. So it's all about that micro advantage that we are bringing, and that is exactly what technology is providing in terms of skills and performance. And the third one, which I would talk about, is the judgment side of sport, wherein we are talking about hockey, ultrasound, and all these technologies. But then we are currently in a wedlock situation with all these technologies, wherein we have to accept that there is an issue with the accuracy when it comes to, okay, there is a margin of error of accuracy that happens. But then how are we going better? Is there anything, something we can do better? Is something still open? And the fourth area would be on the engagement side, fan engagement side, wherein like the engagement itself have gone from listening to the scores in the radio. Today we are all streaming live data across the world. And from there, now we have 5G, VR, AR, metaverse coming in. So there's a lot of scope for technology, especially on the engagement side.
Sure. Thanks, Rajat. Sorry, thanks, Teja. We'll kind of move to Rajat. Rajat couldn't travel to be in person for this event, so we have him remotely present.
Truly digital.
Digital, okay. So Rajat is, is already famous. So he's been one of the #1 game producer in India and one of the top 10 on PlayStation. He's been building a multiverse of platforms for games. So Rajat, who are you? Here we all have sports people, and you seem to be out of place.
Absolutely. I'm the digital sports guy, so yes, gamer, by, this thing that I've been playing for last 33 years actually, and other than that, I've been lucky that I could make this my living, and not just playing games but making and building games, and even luckier that those games could get the recognition at the global level. So yes, so I've been making games for 26 years, playing games for 33 years. Played as a professional also, got paid to play games as well. But the better side is, especially in the US and in GameStop, they used to have games for good kind of campaigns where we used to play for 12 hours at a stretch, and people used to come and tip us and all that kind of thing, and that money used to go to charities. So gaming has like always had the positive side, and so yeah, I think I'm the digital sports guy, and so I run Gamitronics, and at this moment, of course, I'm behind some of the games, which people must be knowing. I'm assuming, like Battlefield, Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, Prince of Persia kind of games. I have my hands behind those, and I think playing games make you a better decision maker and definitely provides better motor skills, and that's one of the reasons why esports is catching up, because if you see the growth of esports, it's like 20% year on year growth, and it's not a pandemic baby. It has been happening, for the last 6 years or so. So I would say, there's a huge amount of, appetite for this thing. And I mentor two teams right now, which are which play at the global stage. And I'm not too sure how many of you are aware that India won the bronze medal in the first esports tournament in Commonwealth for Dota 2, and I think it's a matter of pride for us as much as rest of the medals and other things are for. So great stuff shown. So yeah, that's what it is.
Very, very nice, Rajat. But can you also help us understand, have you turned this whole idea of sports upside down? I mean, this was supposed to build your mental, physical, human power, excellence. And here, as a parent, and I'm sure many of them in this room must be worried about kids getting addicted to their phones and devices. So you are the villain for us. So can you help us understand what are the excuses?
I told you the decision making is definitely one of the key the thing, and there are a lot of studies online, including from MIT and all, where it's been proven. Even during pandemic, WHO was saying that start playing game, it will get you out of depression. So I don't think that and in fact there are so many positive sides to gaming, and number one is quick decision making, because you have to take decisions in split second, just like in any other sports, like in cricket. Like imagine you're facing in like cricket, if you're facing some fast bowler, you have to take decision split second. Just the same thing happens here when somebody's shooting at you, or you're playing soccer or any other thing in the digital space. You need to take decisions. The second thing is the picture memory, which is again, because there are maps, in pretty much every video game, there are maps where you have to actually go around and this thing. You need to know what's there, and you need to remember and memorize. Most of the better players in the world are the ones who have better picture memory, or they develop the picture memory there. Motor skills, just like any other sport, again, they're like immense amount of motor skills, which are required to win a game. And that's where I think, the biggest innovation will come. It's not there yet, and, I'll probably touch base on this, like what are the futures. But the thing is that that's there, and it's a great social exercise, and that's why WHO was supporting that. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have been playing Ludo, again, you can always say it's a traditional game. It was just a digital thing. But the thing is that, it brought people closer, right? It removed the boundaries, the barriers and stuff. And not just you were playing game, people were watching you play as well, like globally. If you see, even in India today, there are 85 million viewers, just the viewers. And it has created an absolute new streams of businesses and monetization. There's a huge amount of money on the table. Even I'm talking about early 2000. My friend Jonathan Wendell, who goes by Fatality online name, he literally had a Logitech series named after him, Fatality series. Other than that, he used to make $5 million a year. Just by playing game. Not even making game or not even understanding game, just by playing game. Other than all the regular awards and other things and stuff. So there is a lot of money, which you can earn. So it's a career, and other than that, commentators are getting paid. There are streamers like Ninja and all those, who used to do a lot of Fortnite, this thing. So there's again alternate game career option. Even if you don't play or don't make games, you still just watch and the nuances of that. You can be a famous influencer, streamer, commentator, reviewer, player, or creator. So there are so many options, and that's a legit career now.
No, sure. I think, thanks for bringing
also
that.
debuting at Paris.
Yeah.
Esports. So
Absolutely.
it is the next
Big thing. So, but thanks for bringing this new perspectives and calming some of our nerves that there is a future for my kids.
There is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 26 years and still counting. There is the industry, so proves that, yes, there is.
You are my confidence. Perfect. So Deepthi, I think, you have a very wide array of sports talent that you're supporting for the Olympics and the Paralympics. But coming specifically to the Paralympics, are there some experiences that you would like to share of Indian talent, Indian sports person who could transform their sporting with technology? And I'm assuming Paralympics needed maybe an extra dose of technological assistance to up their game.
Sure. So I don't know how many of you all are aware, but 15% of the world's population are people with disabilities. And there was a worldwide campaign that got launched during Tokyo Paralympics, because as a society, we really don't know how to work with people with disabilities. So one of the interesting things that technology can do is really with the assistive devices. Today, if you look at the large number of people with disabilities are using manual push wheelchairs, or they are using devices which is very difficult to get them to be independent, right? So I remember I was at the Rio Olympics and Paralympics, and China had 350 people in the contingent, and we were 19 people in the contingent in the Paralympic space. We came back with 4 medals, but at that point of time, if you see how they moved around, people with disabilities moves around globally, they're very independent. So there's so much that we can do with technology in the disability space in India, not just for sports, but just general living, travel, transport. Today we spoke about so many different things where technology can be used, but I think in a lot of our planning, we always see, do you have a person with disability in your audience, and then you'll make arrangements. I was very happy to see a ramp here. When you came in, there are small things that all of us can be mindful, and we always think that disability, a person with disability is, only then we have to take care of some requirement, but even aged people, somebody who's fractured their leg or somebody who's hurt themselves, they all need the assistance, right? So I think as a society, if we just become more conscious to be more inclusive, I think it will be very helpful. In terms of results, I think you'll have seen at Tokyo, very happy to share that out of the 54 people that went from India, we had an opportunity to be part of the 26 athletes. We came back with 19 medals for India, and 10 were athletes that we supported. 4 out of 5 gold medalists were athletes that we supported. So it's been a very interesting journey in the Paralympic space for us as well. We launched something called as the Para Champions program, and what's very, very interesting is not just from a sports standpoint, but also from creating identities, because most of the time, people with disabilities are considered a burden in the society, and they probably just asked not to do a lot of things. But today, sports has become an avenue for them to really take up sport, shine, do well.
Yeah.
And, whenever we interact with athletes, at least at Go Sports, for us, it is about working with a talented athlete. You just happen to have a disability, right?
Sure.
They are working just like the Oscars for the movies. You have the Olympics, with which is the highest level of achievement.
Yep.
And exactly 3 weeks later, you have the Paralympics, because it takes some time to create the technology, the assistance that is required for para athletes, because they're competing with the best in the world. Today doesn't mean that if you win a medal in Paralympics, oh, it's easy. It's not.
Yeah.
You're competing with probably 50 other countries as well. So it's equally competitive, and it is very, very difficult to make a mark. So some of the names I think have become household names. You have an Avni Lakera, who's done really well in shooting. You have a Devendra Jajaria, who's actually, broken his own record. Sumit Until, who we worked with very closely on his prosthetic leg. It was manufactured not in India. The measurements had, we had to literally fly him outside of India to get that entire technology sorted. So there's so much that we can do in India, I feel, but
Right.
there is no access because nobody's thinking about a lot of things from a sports standpoint. So I would really hope that the next year, when this conference happens, there is some new technology in the sports side, which will help Indian athletes get to the next level, whether it's recovery, sleep. There's a lot of stuff for team sports. We saw RCB in terms of what they're doing, where it goes on their jerseys, their bats. There's a lot of technology coming in over there. But when you look at individual sports, like for example, we worked with Bhavani Devi. I don't know how many of you know, but she's India's first fencer who went to the Olympics. 8 years back, we picked up fencing, and there's hardly any information in fencing. And we had to put her in another country for 3 years for her to even qualify, right?
Okay.
But can we create those systems in India? Because today, after Bhavani's success, you had 800 kids participating in a fencing nationals, right? And that's really what we attempt to do, because we believe that it's the process of excellence. We're just using sports as a vehicle to create role models. Medal or no medal is really on
Yep.
that day. You can't promise medals. It's
Yep.
really the journey, the process, the outcome, and that's what we're most excited to work with
Perfect.
Indian athletes.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think, she's in every statement, she's given new opportunity for all the innovators and technologists to create something new. But Tej, I also wondered, when we were talking offline, I think in your experience has been slightly different in terms of adoption of new technologies. So do you want to throw some light on what's been your experience, and what do you see as some of the changes you may want to see to get people, sports people, to adopt a new technology?
Definitely, technology adds to the performance of athletes, but then there are a lot of gaps that needs to be bridged in order to understand and leverage the power of technology, especially in a country like India, where at a grassroots level, they don't even know such a technology exists. And at a professional level, even though they know that there is a technology exists, there is a affordability issue. And so there are such gaps that are there in the ecosystem. And I would say technology is also in two ways, as in one which does not need help of data, and one which needs or comes with data. So for example, like prosthetics and helmets, smart helmets, so you can just buy the product, you can utilize it as an individual, as an athlete. But then there is a lot of technology that comes with data. For example, like what Rajesh Menon was telling, as in we use a lot of technology to get in all this data, plug into an AMS platform, and then what are we doing about this data is the question. So are we really equipping our coaching staff, our support staff with skills and sports science to understand the data and make sense out of it? Because there is a real need for marriage of a technology and the sports science as such, because an analyst who is sitting in front of the numbers can say that this number is good, this number is bad, but then when you say a number is bad, what can be done about it is the question. Now when I go to the coach and say that, okay, this is a problem, or this is a number that I have come across and this seems bad, then the coach should be able to understand that and implement a strategy from a sports science perspective, and then personalize the training protocols so that the athlete performance can be individualized and perform better. So that is a huge gap that needs to be built in India to adopt technology. And second is with respect to the investments. So I definitely say any sport technology or sport tech enthusiast who wants to build a product, it needs deep investments. And it is not just like any software application which is like a one-time investment and you see returns in 2 to 3 years. But then when we talk about assistive technologies, assistive devices, it's almost a deep tech industry that we need to run by. And today we are seeing smart watches and rings and not whatnot. And these parameters that the numbers are thrown out, each number needs an algorithm to run behind to give you that number. And that algorithm is more or less taking for like 5 to 8 years of research to come up with a standard and stable algorithm which works across the population. So such a deep in tech that has to be built. If we want that to be Indianized and indigenous, definitely there is a deep tech investment that needs to be gone into the sports tech side of things. Yeah.
Sure. So there is lots of work to be done. So Rajat, I mean, you're all of technology. Everything is digital. Uh, so in your world, what's your next? Where do you see I mean, which technology are you foreseeing to transform gaming, transform sports, transform decision making? So where is the next technological horizon that you're going to work towards?
Perfect. So everything digital, everything technology is still far behind the traditional sports, and that's my worry. But I'm pretty sure with the progress and the evolution, whatever is happening in the AI space, will definitely bridge the gap. Just before I talk about certain problems, and if there are technologists sitting here, I would like to throw some number. This industry adds $1 billion year on year, adding. Even in India, it's like roughly around a billion rupees industry, not dollar yet, but this is increasing. There are like millions and millions of professional players, not necessarily everybody involved in the monetization part of it, but still playing for some sort of awards, cups, and stuff like that. But so that is a big, huge opportunity. Now, coming to the problem, number one problem is that this is one sport which is absolutely social, just like any other sport. You follow a team, you do all those Mexican wave kind of things, and all those things happen here. Also, pretty much the same thing. But since this is digital, the opportunity to give out personal thing is humongous, right? So bringing social and personal together on one single platform is completely, I think the AI will come where I'm watching, in certain manner. I'm actually following, I'm chatting with the players, or I'm talking to the influencer or the streamer and all those kind of things. There are a lot of behaviors which can be captured, and tools can be built around those to incentivize the audience, which is right now very lackluster there. So I think there's going to be, because esport is all about community building. It's great that we follow India and other things, but at the same time, there are like a lot of teams, indie teams and stuff, and we follow those teams. So community is the biggest driver in the esports thing, and what game you follow, what team you follow, what influences you follow, and other things. So that's where I think personal incentivizing is an easy, low-hanging fruit, because there's everything digital. So I think that's where I think the biggest changes will, and early changes will come. The second thing which is important, and I'm surprised that not many people, just like in the traditional sports, you actually, like somebody mentioned, I think in the previous panel, they mentioned about Kumble's sticker, right, on the pad, while figuring out the patterns and stuff. We have every possible data how the user is playing inside the game, right? We know how the person is, taking decisions and stuff and all those, but we are not converting those things into the physical this thing. There are no tools and technologies right now, but I'm pretty sure there are companies working in that direction, and there will be. But right now, there's no way we can map what you're doing outside and which is transitioning inside. So, I worked a lot on defense simulation also, like worked with Indian Army, French, and all those things. Indian Army follows something called Sarkanda Hath. That's a very unique posture when you actually shoot from your gun. There's a unique posture you need to follow, and whenever there is a miss or whenever your group exercise is actually giving you a wrong number or not sufficient score, always there are three problems: either sir, your head, kandha, your shoulder, or your hand. One of these things are actually creating the problems. Such tools, such these kind of things are missing, where there is no way we figure out what you did wrong there in the physical space, which actually resulted into your in the game kind of thing, which is, I think, that's where we need to build our own Sarkanda Hath
It's
thing
interesting.
within the game, this esports domain. Another thing, of course, and that actually results into not having enough analytics like the traditional sports, and tons of analytics need to be generated. And third thing is, again, very important, is the virtual reality, VR. Unlike other sports, largely when we watch esports, we consume from the player's point of view. So it's always what player is doing. We have few switches of the cameras and stuff, but it's a digital space. Come on. I should be able to see the entire environment, right? I should be able to immediately switch my point of view to some to other player, and I should not be pointing at player to player to player. I should just want to watch the entire map, probably top-down view or whatever. So the virtual reality needs to come and play, and definitely. And unfortunately, you know, uh, I'm actually, ranked as like top 20 global VR influencer, but even I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
So, so it's like onus is on me. I should be doing it, but so there's a lot already on the plate. What we are working on. So that's another thing. Of course, there are few other things like cloud-based video production, because it's all about quickly creating videos for your audience and stuff, which is completely there. There is a vertical team fandom. It's all about fandom, right? As I talked about community. So there is always like people who are playing Dota. But in Atlanta, they created a lot of patterns using AI and figured out that those players can actually play a first-person shooter also. And they tried, and they successfully did it and won the medal for them. So the thing is but that was one-off exercise. Just like Moneyball, right? So,
Sure.
but there has to be more pattern and more these kind of tools available for players around the globe. So I think these are the places where you'll see innovation coming in, and especially AI, I would say, and analytics.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Rajat. So I think we have kind of exceeded our time, but if there's a pressing question, finally, yes, there's one question here. Yeah. The Kurg. Yeah.
Absolutely. We get the funding, we'll set it up there.
There. Okay. One more question.
No, the thing is, our model currently, we don't invest into infrastructure. We work with individual athletes, and we really are their entourage around the athlete. So, for example, if you take Kidambi Shrikant, right? We picked him up when he was 381 in the world, and right up to world number one. But we worked with Gopi, we worked with his, ecosystem, his strength and conditioning expert. So we really create an ecosystem around the athlete to get to the best of their potential. So infrastructure, I think there are other players like GSW's set up a fantastic center in Bellary. You have Mr. Vivek Kumar, who set up an incredible center called the Dravid Padukone Center in Bangalore. If you've not seen it, you must see it. It's on the way to the airport. So there is multiple models today that can be created for Indian sport and across multi-discipline sport. We've seen a lot of it happen in cricket, usually, but I think if you take badminton, you take hockey, you take Sports Authority of India as well, there are close to 87 large stadiums across the country which people are not aware of, right? The government, the first talent is usually picked by the Sports Authority of India or by the forces. Today you speak about Neeraj Chopra, he is from the army. You take a Jeremy who won weightlifting medal, he was picked up through the scouting program of the Indian Army when he was 12 years old, right? So it's really multiple stakeholders coming in at different points. But today everybody is talking to each other and they're collaborating, which is why you're seeing these results. But it's a 10, 15-year journey that is now coming through.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One quick question, please. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Maybe.
That's where technology and body type comes in. I
yeah,
think
maybe we can take it offline. Yeah. Sorry.
This is more to bring in certain traditional practices or certain ancient practices, yoga. Yogasan, some of the asanas which are there, they literally put eyes, nose, they literally make every single part of your body have a sense and prevent you from having sports accidents. I have been through that journey, so I think you should bring in the hyperactive versions of yogasan into sports.
Sure.
Like for example, Malkham, it's amazing.
Sure. Thank you.
You should do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a good input. Okay, one last question and then we will go to the next session.
Maybe
okay,
this
Arjun.
question to Tejas. Different regions, especially in India, we can say divide into 5 regions, which are very diversified: north, west, northeastern, south, and western. Similarly, like if you take some of the athletes, like long runners, we know most of the Africans, they do long running because of their physique and muscles, they don't get fatigue easily. So is there a way using AI, coming up with data from different regions, from their DNA or genes, the way they eat the food, which they are very good in those sports? So is there a way we can come and then concentrate, okay, this is the reason very good for this type of sports? Is there a way
Sure.
we can do that?
Got it. Yeah.
Definitely we can do it, but there are a lot of hindrances in the process. First thing is, as Deepthi was mentioning, we need data of Indianized Indian athletes. So it requires data over a period. It's not just that I go for a day and collect data from a person and make that model work. And you might be knowing, coming in from an I think a technology background, you might know how immense, and also it has to be very much annotated. Unless and until we have that annotated data, it is very, very difficult to come up with models. Like what Rajesh was mentioning, Instagram will give you data, but that is of no use until and unless we know what is happening behind that data. So similar way, we need to Indianize the data, first thing. Second, we need to also map whatever process that went into an athlete being that way. Only then we can predict such things, saying, in fact, we are using DNA profiling today to understand what is the best sport a person can get into. So the same thing can be embedded and we can do that, yeah.
Thank you, Deepthi, Teja, thank you, Rajat,